My name's Mike Critch. I'm the Chief Executive of Barnet Carers. And today we're talking to Shereen. And Shereen is a young adult carer who's just finishing her university and is just coming up to the end of her university. And her mum got in contact with me and said that she'd be really interested in telling her story about how she cares at home and how the whole lockdown process has made a real sort of, what difference it has made to her life. So really happy to welcome Shereen today to find out a little bit more, Shereen, about who you are, who you care for, what your day-to-day caring experience is, and really, I suppose, how this whole sort of COVID-19, the lockdown, and all of that, how that's changed your experience. So, hello, Shereen.
Hi.
Can you tell us just a little bit about you, how old you are, what you're doing at the moment?
I'm 20 years old and I'm in my third year of university now. So I'm at Warwick University, but I've come back home since this outbreak started. So yeah, I've been working at home really.
Did the university close, or were you all encouraged to shoot back home?
The campus closed down and all our classes got cancelled and moved online. But our houses are in like the student town, so we could still live there. But everyone else pretty much moved back home as soon as it started to get serious.
Yeah, so it'd have been a bit lonely staying anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So that's probably better from home now.
I know that your mum works.
Mhm.
I know she's got a busy job in the health service,
Yeah.
and I know that she cares for your sister. And I suppose that must have been helpful for her, for you to come home and help do that care.
Yeah, definitely. I think as well because my sister's normally at a college or a day centre in the day, and then since this lockdown, that's all closed down as well. So at home, because she's stuck at home now, it's sort of having to find different ways to stimulate her, or keep like doing different activities with her that she would normally do at college that my mum can't do because she's going to work. So being encouraged to do that instead.
Yeah, I think that's been a real complication that I've heard about, especially for some people who were actually used to going out and having stuff,
Yeah.
like day centres, like college, and having a real support, sort of like a team around them, I suppose.
Yeah.
That's now falling to yourself and your mum.
Yeah. Luckily as well, I've got my other siblings at home who are working from home. So with us, we're quite lucky that we can all take on different roles, or if one's more busy, then the other person can do a bit more. But I know a lot of other people wouldn't have that as well, and the burden fall all on one person's shoulders, which would be really difficult.
Yes, no, I think that is the case. I mean, if you don't mind me asking, what kind of care does your sister need?
So she's completely wheelchair bound, and she can't speak or talk either. So my mum does all the personal care in the morning before she goes to work. So she'll get her ready and changed out of bed. So when I come down, she'll be all in her chair, and then normally we'd feed her breakfast. Um, and then I think as well is a lot of like sensory activities and stuff, which she needs to keep stimulating or keep, otherwise she's going to be completely bored. So like reading different books to her, we normally go for a walk around the block, wheel her around, and then feed her lunch. And then she'll normally in the afternoon be lay on the floor and have her stretch and nap till my mum comes home from work. And then my mum will normally come back as well and get her ready and toileted and showered and things like that.
So really, a lot of care all
Yeah.
day, as you say, is it must be very useful that to your mum, not only that are you at home, but your other siblings are as well. That
Yeah,
you can make up a team around your sister
exactly.
and yourself. Um, I mean, it's interesting that you talked about boredom, because I think for lots of people I've spoken to, even those who are working at home,
Yeah.
the moment just feels a bit very Groundhog Day-ish. The same thing, the same every day, the same sort of activities, maybe the same people you're speaking to.
Mm.
I mean, and this must be, what obviously a massive thing for your sister.
Yeah.
And obviously a massive challenge for you to be able to come up with the kind of, I don't know, the activities and the kind of things that you need to do to keep, to keep your sister from being awfully bored,
Yeah.
and all of the things that go with that. It's a real pressure on you, don't you think?
I think we were all talking about it where it's since like mainstream schools have closed down, there's so much online as well about different like resources or activities for kids to do or schooling activities. But there's actually nothing around for special needs children or adults. And they probably need the stimulation like equally, if not more. Um, so in that way, it's like yesterday, because I submitted my essay, we had a big like, dancing and music session in the kitchen and baked some cakes together, which she like, it's not difficult to keep her engaged. You just need music and she's happy.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to keep doing it. Otherwise, there's not really much out there to say these are things for these children to do.
Yeah, it's interesting what you say, because I think when at Barnet Carers, one of the things we looked to do pretty soon into the whole pandemic was try and get some resources together, try and
Yeah.
find the resources. And as you say, there was absolutely stacks of resources for people, for children who had just stopped mainstream schooling. But you're absolutely right. There is very, very little out there to support you in terms of resources um, around sort of people with learning difficulties,
Yeah.
people with sensory deprivation, sensory difficulties as well, and and I suppose this is because for many of those people, they were going to day centres, they were going to colleges which were set up for them,
Yeah, exactly.
and that's not online, is it? It's
Like a lot of it needs the physical interaction or speaking to them or just really engaging physically, which obviously you can't do online. So I think you've got like at home got to make a more conscious effort to make sure these things are provided. Otherwise she could easily just be sat in the chair all day, but she's not really getting to get anything out of that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling for you here now, actually, because I think I've got two sons at home
Yeah.
who are just getting on with their schooling and
Mm.
things like that, and they're teenagers, so it's less of a problem. But
Yeah.
still, I've spoken to people who've got younger children at home, and they're finding that the day to day of having to come up with activities, come up with things to do with the younger children, absolutely draining. um, and I can only guess this is a massive issue for you and your siblings and your mum, that sort of okay, what are we going to do today
To make
to keep our sister stimulated, to give her something interesting to do? It must be exhausting for you.
it yeah, I think like I said, because it's all shared out and we all feel like it's not something that we have to do, but we all know that it'd be better off if we could do this. That it's less of a pressure. But compared to like seeing how other children are at home and things like that, like it's a lot more to think about.
Yeah, and I suppose I mean also as you say, you've come to the end of your sort of university sort of degree now. You said you've submitted your last things, so I suppose one of the lucky things in your family is that you have time, but obviously I guess you'll be looking to do now what's next for you. Do you go on for another course? Do you start looking for a job? And of course, I suppose that adds some pressure um, to you trying to combine the caring role that you're taking on at the moment with the fact that you have to get on with your life as well.
Yeah, I think especially now with everything being up in the air, it's sort of like you need to sit down and proper research what jobs are even available or masters options. So I think you need to start writing applications. You need to actually concentrate on that, which will be quite difficult, but something I need to start looking into now as well.
Yeah, I mean it's a tremendously difficult time for everybody involved, and I think sometimes we forget that sort of I suppose the little complexities. I mean, as I know, as I said, and I know your mum works in the health service,
Yeah.
which I assume means she's getting up, she's going to work, she's really busy. But of
Mhm.
course, you know, you're at home with your siblings who, and that's a really great resource. You
Yeah,
just get to
definitely.
that point where you think, okay, if you weren't there, day centres are closed, colleges are closed at the moment. Your mum has to go to work. It, you know, none of that really adds up in terms of being able to support your sister as well.
I think especially at the start as well, when it was in the peak of like the fear surrounding the pandemic, no one would really want to have external people coming into the house or like Hannah's external carers coming in.
Yeah.
So like in order to avoid that and keep her safe that way, it was all make sure everything's kept inside and whoever's in the house does the job, sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's an experience that we've had. I mean, we also provide, I mean, home care
Yeah,
services to young people as well as older people as well. And yeah, a lot of families have said to us, you know,
yeah,
certainly right at the beginning, saying,
yeah,
you know what, we're going to keep it all in the family for a period of
yeah,
time until things start to develop. I think what we're now starting to see is people saying, okay, as things loosen up, we're going to be happy to bring sort of home carers in. Is that something that your mum's used previously?
yeah. My mum's got two of Hannah's main carers externally, who I think we're a lot more comfortable to bring back in now, especially knowing that if they're not working at schools or other things like that, it's safe to come into the house. And then that's just another person for Hannah to engage with and sort of get on.
Yes. Well, I suppose at the end of the day, you know, it's you know just just talking to you briefly here about sort of like what you and your siblings and your mum are doing with your sister. You know, largely, as you know, it's a full-time job, isn't it?
Yeah, I
Realistically,
don't really think about, but subconsciously doing in the back of your mind.
no, and you know, clearly it's something, as you say, you don't think about it as a job. It's your sister. It's something that you do, but you know, it's certainly something that you know, in the longer term, needs to fit in with sort of what your aspirations are as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, and obviously, I suppose, you know, I think, you know, it sometimes feels as though there are very few silver linings to this pandemic. But I suppose as much as anything else, it's given you time at home with your family, with your sister.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, has that helped bonding with your sister? And I'm sure you had a good bond anyway, but being at home together.
It has been really nice because normally I'd be living at university as well. So it would be like FaceTimes and things like that, which is not the same. So coming home has been so much more quality time together, which has been really nice.
Yeah. So, and I think, you know, I said one of the things I've been saying to people is, you know, and you know, one of the things we try and do is grasp the positives, you know, amongst the negatives, I suppose, as much as anything else.
Yeah.
So, um, I mean, in terms of where you go now, Shereen, in terms of sort of like your caring, are you planning to stay at home for the next period of time, or are things up in the air for you?
I think I'm not really sure of what is going to be happening. So as long as I know I'll be living at home here still, um, I think slowly as well as things start to get better, we'd probably have more carers coming into the house. But I think we're reluctant to start using colleges and things again. So it'll be very much home-based caring, and then I'll be on a summer break as well. So
Yes.
longer.
No, absolutely. It's very difficult. It's sometimes it's very difficult to you know, look past the next week or the next 2 weeks or the next month or something like that. But you know, hopefully it will become easier as things start to ease and people become you know, it's that people become used to, I guess, what is a new normal.
Mm-hmm.
um, at some point. You know, it's important, obviously, for, you know, especially for your sisters, to be able to get out and get that sort of
Yeah,
stimulation and stuff like that that she needs.
Yeah, she's
Um,
going out as well. So it's been a bit of a change to the normal routine. She's been stuck indoors every day.
yeah, really, really difficult, really difficult. And hopefully things will improve a little bit before it starts getting dark and autumny and winter and things like that. At least we've got summer ahead of us.
Yeah, definitely something to look forward to now as well.
So, so as a sort of like, I hope you don't mind me describing you as this, Shireen, but as a young adult carer,
Mm.
who is busy taking a sort of like an active caring role, for your siblings, and clearly, you're for your sibling, clearly doing a really good job of it as well. I mean, we've got lots of other young adult carers out there. Many of them not as, not as old as you. Maybe, some of them sort of 16, 17. Got any sort of messages that you can give out? Sort of pearls of wisdom, words of wisdom?
Um, I think I'd always say that we've all been quite lucky as a family in that I've got two other siblings and like my parents at home who shared the job. But I can imagine if it was just me or if it was one carer on their own, the pressure would really get to them, and it would feel really difficult at times. So in that the case, it's okay. If that's the case, it's okay to just be like, this is difficult, and I do need a bit of me time or a bit of time to like understand what I'm doing and wind down a bit instead of just being completely consumed in the role.
Yeah, I think that is excellent advice. I think it does become a sort of problem for people when they become solely defined by their caring role,
Yeah,
as opposed to who they are. And we are all
people as well. Yeah,
made up of different roles and things like that, I suppose. And
yeah, exactly.
yeah, I think that's some tremendous advice. Well, Shereen, thank you. I think this has been great. It's really, I think, and people love to hear what you've had to say. I think, thank you very much for doing this. I know it's not easy getting on camera and sort of being asked sort of questions, especially ones that are so close to home. But it strikes me that your family are very lucky to have you, and your sister's certainly lucky to have you. And I'm not surprised your mum was so keen for you to do this. It's been tremendous. Thank you very much, Shireen.
That's okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay.